Well, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Well, it's, good news. The first batch of Nigerians fleeing Ukraine arrived the country this morning, arrived Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport in Abuja. That's the first batch, according to news reports, and also according to Abike Dabiri, chair of the Nigerians in diaspora. So, good news. We're so thankful for that. We've heard all sorts of stories. We'll come to talk a bit about that, and also we'll be looking on later today at the Abba Kyari, story. We were on it yesterday, and a number of you preferred commentaries. I was saying that a lot of it was speculative in the sense that you couldn't produce hard evidence. Well, now hours after that, it appears that indeed, it's not going to be easy to extradite the suspended former police boss, because you can't. Not when there are charges pending against him, and we didn't know that as of Monday morning, as of yesterday morning when we were on the program. But subsequently, NDLEA has put some more charges on Mr. Kyari's head. The lawyers tell us that he's not going anywhere with those charges on his head. So we'll look at that, but let's go first of all to the happy one. Nigerians arriving. There are about 2,000 Nigerians, we understand, that are interested. We'll get the details as soon as we can speak with our Moyo Thomas, Abuja, who was at Abuja Airport when they arrived earlier. We'll speak with her. And, 5,000 Nigerian students and other people in the Ukraine now. We're hearing stories that some of them don't want to come back, and we can only bring those that we want. There you go. That's a picture of them arriving 7:10 this morning. And okay, it's about time that I also let you know, as we are going, as you're watching those pictures, my guests in studio. You got well, Chief Femi Aino, international lawyer and politician. Thank you very much. Good morning to you, sir.
Yes, thank you, and Happy New Year.
Indeed. Well, yeah. It's never too late. It's been that length of time since we spoke. And Mr. Jide Ologun, lawyer and public affairs analyst. So now we have it. First of all, let me come to you, because now we're beginning to see our citizens coming back home. We know why they're coming back home. It's not. It's an unfortunate situation. It's because of a war. They're fleeing a war. But there was also this news item that our legislators, national legislators, are so concerned that there's a team of them over in Romania now. A diplomat has commented. I was reading one of the papers that. He couldn't think of anything more irresponsible. Say, what will be their work there? After all, consulate staff yonder is. So, first of all, let me clear that. Is it very unusual for legislators to take part in this kind of, situation?
Well, it is indeed. And but first of all, I'm pleased that the Nigerian citizens are back home. Yeah. Some of them, I know they are still.
Yes.
This is just the first batch. Yes. So, but having said that, is what you could describe as a bittersweet. Bittersweet in the sense that, one, they are back home. We are happy about that. But how did it get to this stage? Whereby we have to get legislators traveling to Romania. Then, well, you see...
The legislators, it is reported, the National Assembly, it is reported, felt that the Foreign Affairs Ministry was being too slow. And so, the way we read in the story, it mandated a committee
to travel to Romania. Yes. And then, at the end of the day, you see, that's not the way it works. And there's you see, we have this entrenched problem in Nigeria, whereby we leave things to the last minute. The issue between Russia and Ukraine started some few months back, and they've been beating the war drum as far back as over a month. Normally, what nations used to do in such a situation is to have what is called a contingency plan. That, okay, should these people go to war, how do we evacuate our citizens? Nations do that.
You feel we didn't do that?
It was left to the last minute.
To the very last
to the very last minute, when it was this outcry from the parents of the students who are in Ukraine. And then we now have this situation where legislators are traveling to Romania.
Yeah.
What does it cost them to summon the Minister for Foreign Affairs? That, look, come and brief us. What are your contingency plans to evacuate Nigerians?
Let me, what do you think, Jide, about this scenario that legislators got involved because it might have been felt that the Foreign Affairs Ministry was being slow, and so they got involved. But a question has been asked, what exactly is their role supposed to be over there?
I believe it's a systemic gap, because as mentioned, if the relevant ministry has been swift about it, there will not have been the point of the legislators going. If you go to Section 4 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it says that the National Assembly shall make laws for the order, peace, and good governance of Nigeria. Even though they have the oversight functions, I think going abroad may be because the funds are available. You see, we could have called the relevant ministry agencies that, hey, go ahead and get this done and supervise it. But again, it is traditional. We have gone to the UK to consult and return to Nigeria the same day when the president was out there for medical care. So I think we've been used to this approach. And in comparison with how other countries have managed it, you saw the USA and some other countries evacuating their citizens before the war started. And that is what we call proactive crisis management in public relations. Okay. But we seem to be reactive, and being reactive is costlier. About $8.5 million have been released for this evacuation. And some Nigerians are even saying over there that we are not returning, that let's stay here. But it's a good move the government has done, you know, and thank God the first batch, they have arrived in Nigeria now.
Okay.
And,
indeed, yes, indeed. We're all grateful for that.
Appreciate that.
The first batch, and it must have been very traumatic to both them and and their parents. But not to belabor the point of legislators getting involved. I don't know. I seem to recall that in certain instances abroad with America, you sometimes see news reports of senator this or senator that, you know, flew in, and he won't go alone. There'll be 2 or 3 other people with his committee. So I wanted to...
Not in this type of context.
Not in
because,
okay.
Yes, because
but you know that there are
yes, I know there are instances whereby
US
maybe they will say, look, we are going to
inject themselves onto the
yes,
situation.
Definitely, I've seen such.
Yes.
And then what normally happens in such situation, let's say they are holding the person hostage, and the senator will say, I will go there, then we will release this person to this senator once we have this guarantee. You see, I'm not saying the legislature can't get involved, because they are the representative of the people. But what I'm concerned about is this idea of traveling to Romania. What does it, is it because they are in Romania, the citizens are here? Don't forget, we have an office.
They say they have no time of departure. It depends on how it goes on the ground.
Yes,
they will wait.
We understand that. But at the same time, we have a Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we have the Diaspora Commission. So what are all these, the ministry, the commission, what are they there for? But my major concern, the Indian government, they manage to evacuate their citizens before things get out of hand. And what nations used to do, and I'm still repeating that as a matter of emphasis, is that the moment, you see, citizenship connects certain rights. And one of those fundamental rights is that in times of war, your country must be there to evacuate you and provide you with adequate protection. And the moment you hear nations beating the warm drums that we are going to go to war, this and that, what government used to do is that they have a contingency plan in place that, okay, should these people go to war, this is how we are going to evacuate our citizens. And that doesn't happen in this case until there was this outcry here and there. And that is where we need to learn a lesson for future.
Well, indeed, it's almost all over in the sense that citizens have begun to arrive. No harm, thankfully, has been reported yet. no fatalities, because it's brutal, especially if people are watching international television, and you see what the experiences that people are having who had to get out of Ukraine to a sort of a boarding post where they could meet up. Even Nigerians even relax their regulations, saying that, look, even if as a Nigerian you don't have a passport, you don't have a passport or whatever, don't worry about it. You're still eligible to come home. So that's one sense in which the people are moving. But talking about the experiences, of course there's the war story. And we're seeing reports of brutal, even to Caucasian people fleeing. And I brought about the whole matter of skin color because some horrible things are reported to have been happening in terms of racism to African people of African descent, and certainly Nigerians are prominent because they say that there's up to 5,600 Nigerian students. So unfair treatment, so much so that at a certain time I think there was an official voice from here say please ensure that our citizens are treated decently or something like that.
Well, you see, those things are inevitable, especially when there is a crisis of this nature between Ukraine and Russia. Definitely, because of skin color, people will discriminate. Because of skin color, people are going to be isolated and receive some sort of second-class treatment. It is part and parcel of what happened when there is a war. But my major concern is that is why you have a country and you have a government that will be there to step in, reach out diplomatically to others and say, look, can you help us to safeguard, to protect our citizens? And you have International Migration Organization. They have experience in dealing with issues of this nature. You have the Red Cross there. You have this body called Frontex, which deal with migration of aliens within the European countries. So you can reach out to them, and they are going to create this passage and the necessary protection. You will recall during the Iran or Iraq war or whatever, there's this thing called safe passage, whereby you create it for citizens to move, and then the hostility will stop at that particular point. What I'm saying is that we need to be more proactive in future to make sure we don't leave things to the last minute. If you talk to some of these returnees, they will tell you they must have had a terrible experience. Yes. Don't forget there's a language barrier, and that is something which is very serious too. And then when you get into Lithuania, Estonia, all these countries, the communication could also be a problem. I appreciate there will be one or two people who can speak English. With those people who are even looking for a way to protect themselves, will they be there to interpret for you? You see, so there are a lot of myriad of issues we need to look at. And I'm asking the legislator, once we finish the evacuation, I think there should be an investigation to find out so that lesson could be learned. Okay, I don't know if we're not saying by any of this, are we, that well, the Foreign Affairs Ministry has not delivered in this case. There are hitches. In fact, the citizens that have arrived this morning were expected on Thursday, but we hear that there were technical hitches. All told, the Foreign Ministry has delivered on this, hasn't it? It depends on the characteristic of the nation you're talking about. Is it characteristic of Nigeria to upscale accountability? And the answer is no. You see, no. So when you have that lackadaisical approach, you experience what we're experiencing. Initially, it was reported that, okay, you need to be only those who are properly documented will be brought back to Nigeria. And Nigerians had to speak out. In fact, as at last night, a father was trying frantically to get his child ticket personally, despite the promise of the government to evacuate them, to bring that boy back to Nigeria. But fortunately, the evacuation, because it was not very clear. But the big question is, right back at home, let me recall a very simple procedure: obtaining your national identity number. Some have been on it for 1.5 years. You see, so you now talk of international engagements. It's a clear picture, and they say charity begins at home. Have we created a system that is result friendly? And if you go to Peter Drucker's position on management by objective, he says that you set smart goals, goals that are specific
measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. So look at the issue of food scarcity. A promise was, oh, it may not last more than 2 weeks. It's getting tighter now. So what system do we have? Do we have a system that says we must get this done within 24 hours and we get it done within 24 hours?
And there will be accountability.
Do we have a
if there's a
system
failure
that says this agency has been mandated to carry out this assignment? We can trust the agency to deliver on it. And that is the essence of having a governance system. But we are yet to get to that level, but hopefully we'll get there someday.
Well, let me see if we can speak with our correspondent in Abuja, Moyo Thomas. She was at the airport earlier. Good morning, Moyo. Hello, Moyo. Good morning. I believe Moyo Thomas, she has left the airport now, but still we were going to speak with her to find out, you know, okay, there's Moyo. Good morning, Moyo. Can you hear me? Oh, okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Good morning. And well, I hear you were at the airport earlier. You were at the airport earlier. Could you tell us the mood of the arrivals? We saw pictures first by Abike Dabiri in the Punch, and we subsequently have our own pictures as well, very similar pictures. But so what was the mood? What was the sort of mood, spirit of people as they arrived?
Okay, so the returnees were definitely happy to be back in the country, back into safety, as some of them we spoke with shared this with us, especially considering the traumatic experience they've had in the last 4 or 5 days. But for the aircraft that just landed today coming from Romania, most of them said on the western side of Ukraine that they were coming from, they didn't experience much bombing, but the trauma was the fact that they had to pack up in a hurry, leave because there was no more food, they couldn't go out, the city they were was becoming empty, so they all knew that it was time to leave. But it's not like they experienced the bombing firsthand, unlike those that were in Kyiv and Kharkiv and some other eastern part of Ukraine. But then they said the trauma was where the bus they took from their city dropped them, and they had to walk for almost an hour to the border of Romania, Ukraine and Romania, and then they had to stay there for days because they were not allowed into Romania easily. But immediately they got into Romania, they said the Nigerian government, the Nigerian mission were there and welcomed them, held them, gave them all the supplies they needed, warm clothing, and then they were fine from there until they got to Nigeria this morning. And even here in Nigeria, as before we left, they were already giving them packages for breakfast, and they were also giving them $100 each for transportation back to their homes, especially for those that would need to catch a flight back to wherever they came from.
Do you know how many came in? We just knew that was the first batch. About how many, and what is the total number of Nigerians who indeed want to come home, and how many were on the batch that arrived first?
Okay, so from this first batch that came in from Romania, the manifest says 415 people. That is 411 students, and then 4 other officials. But we've been having varying numbers, varying statistics. Some says 450, but according to the manifest, 415 people came into Nigeria or aboard the Air Max this morning, the first evacuation.
And there was also the side story, perhaps, that whereas these were excited and happy and appreciative to be back home, I understand there were slight complications because some Nigerians actually were foregoing the offer to be brought back home free, that they reportedly had the opinion that they wanted to remain, come what might, come what will. What do you hear about that? Hello, Moyo. I was saying, how about... Okay, Moyo, can you hear me now? I was saying the side story of some Nigerians declining to return home, preferring instead to stay back. I don't know, what do you hear of that kind of a story? Okay, I understand that we lost connection with Moyo. It does happen, and I'm sure we'll get her back. So, well, the people are home. They're happy to be home. She didn't quite get to how many, but we do know that there are up to 5,600 Nigerians in Ukraine.
So you still have a substantial number behind.
Yes, 400 exactly.
As for those who don't want to come home, I think they are in two minds. Because don't forget, even though the war is going on, but at the same time there's negotiation, peace negotiation going on between the Ukraine and the Russian officials. And, you know, there's this prediction that, look, this war that is going on may not even last more than 10 days because President Putin may not be able to sustain it, whether that happens or not. And don't forget, when you are in this sort of situation, it is probable you'll be monitoring the news, you'll be like to know what is going on. Maybe those people are thinking that, look, if the negotiation comes to fruition, it may well be the war will come to an end. What's the point of going to Nigeria and then in a few days we'll return back to Ukraine? So let's wait and see what happens, which is a natural reaction in this sort of situation. Maybe that's
before coming to you, let me bring in Mr. George, who has called in on the phone. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and I greet your guest.
Yes, thank you.
Uncle Yori, I always see hypocrisy when subjects like this are being discussed. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So, it is what you are that you take out. If when we are in our own country here, life is not valued by our leaders, how do you expect them to value us when we are outside the country? You can't be what you are not anywhere you are. Uncle Yori, about 3 days ago, we were hearing stories of how bandits have enslaved people in Niger State and killing 200 of them in a day. We have not addressed that one. Are they not Nigerians? So when it concerns Nigerians abroad, we want to wear a different skin and pretend to be what we are not. For those who have managed to return, I congratulate them. Let's take it like that and stop flogging the subject.
All right.
The other one you brought up on Kyori, the issue of Abakari that you spoke about, we are going to be going back and forth on it. The best thing is for the federal government to allow him to go to the U.S. Because if a case is established here against him, he will wriggle out of it the way he wriggled out of his own. And we end up not having any conviction. So if it is true that the federal government actually wants justice to prevail, let him go and answer that one first. When he comes back, he can answer the local one.
All right. Thank you, and good morning to you, Mr. George. Thank you for calling in. I dare say there's going to be quite a number of people that are going to be calling in this morning because those two subjects, we were on it yesterday. Mr. George has kick-started it, and we might as well, you know, go there. I understand the calls will come, and we'll sort of be shifting depending on how the questions come. So it's like a twin subject kind of a thing today. That is the kind of subject that I'm sure every Nigerian, take Chief Ade in the UK yesterday, he was saying to us on the program that it's a cover-up, it's a ruse and all of that. And I was defending, saying, no, don't be speculative. Well, I hear he's on the line this morning. Chief Ade, good morning.
Dr. Yori, good morning, sir. Why is my the barrister? Now why is he sitting down on the right today, on the left? He only sit on the right.
Maybe because I'm wearing the tail.
So you know, you were saying this along with other people, a number of other people from all over the country, and even outside. You yourself being outside. You had said that you are not impressed by all of this. Now we have it that I have lawyers around me here. You cannot extradite a person who has charges before him. And after telling us that they were going to cooperate, we were going to cooperate with the U.S., you then file charges. So, Chief, what do you say?
Now, first of all, I want to respond to my friend, the majority leader, George, when he says that soldiers, people in Nigeria, they didn't talk. They are talking in overseas. They just forget that this overseas costs $8.5 million. If they go to Nigeria, it won't cost anything. So So there must be money for the boys. So $8.5 million to overseas. That's why they go there, George. So that's why they care about those ones in Niger State. We cost them only petrol. Now, coming to this issue, I sympathize with my people who are in Ukraine. It's because of the failure of leadership in Nigeria. If our education system is good, nobody will go overseas. They will go maybe for master or for class program or this sort of things. But look at our students outside now, doing nothing. But quickly they raised $8.5 million to bring 5,000 people. Then look at millions of Nigerians on the street. They are suffering. They can't go back to university. Adamu work out on them.
Sorry, sir. So, I hear you, and indeed you are correct in every material particular. But surely they couldn't have. We couldn't have folded our arms. We had to do something. These are kids, and not all of them are kids who are very far away and in a foreign land.
I know. I'm talking of the speed. The speed. They should have answered the student in Nigeria as well with the same speed that these children should go back to school instead of them just roaming about doing nothing.
All right.
You understand what I'm trying to say? I do. About Abakiari, I've spoken yesterday about Abakiari. I'm not saying they should not extradite him, but game is on. 2023 will reveal the secret.
Okay.
God bless you.
Thank you very much, Chief Ade in the UK. We'll leave it there.